Hey everybody, it is You Had to Ask, the show where I answer your questions. And this week my first question comes from David Edwards, who says, do you think focus groups ruin movies? I heard about so many movies that were changed to a piece of shit because audience reactions. I'd prefer seeing the vision of the writer and director and not what some mob thinks is good. I think a lot depends on how they're used. Focus groups, as they are typically utilized in Hollywood, I think have a tendency to ruin movies. I don't think they're a good thing because they're used to calculate the appeal of a movie and to sort of tweak a movie to make sure that it appeals to, well, we got to have something in there for the teenagers, and we got to have something in there for the girls, and we got to have something in there for the old people, and maybe the 18 to 34 demographic isn't going to accept this, or the ending's too sad. Look how sad the focus group is. They're going to leave the theater and they're going to be upset and they're not going to tell anybody about the movie, So it's used for those sorts of crass sort of commercial marketing calculations that in many cases ultimately harm the art and compromise the original concept or vision of the filmmakers. So yeah, in that sense, it's really, really bad. I'm not for it at all. And you're right, there are many instances of films that were radically recut or even reshot or made into completely different movies because the studio panicked after there was a poor focus group showing. But at the same time, I think it's important to speak up for not creating art in a vacuum, especially narrative art, storytelling art, writing and filmmaking. These are works that are made with the intention of showing them to an audience, in general, for the most part. And that doesn't mean that you should write trying to please the audience. If you are the writer, if you are the director, you should be trying to tell the story as you think it should be told. You should be putting your vision on the paper or the screen, whatever. But you shouldn't create your art in a vacuum. And there's nothing wrong with showing something to somebody or even a group of people just to see how they react, just to see if it works, just to see if they do what you thought they were going to do when you wrote that bit or you shot that bit, to see if what you thought was obvious and clear to them was obvious and clear to them. I mean, there's all kinds of benefits to showing your work to people before it's completely finished, before you release it wide to the public. And if focus groups were used in that way, and if the actual director of the film had more control over how the focus group was used, over what questions they were asked, and over how their reactions were used to inform or change the final film, then it would be a much more positive, much more useful process. Brad Baumander. Hi Steve, what's your opinion on the war on Christmas? I come from a mostly Jewish family, hope my last name didn't give that away, and didn't experience Christmas until I was in my mid-teens. Spending Christmas with my high school girlfriend's family, and I must say I love Christmas. Everything about it, from decorating trees to Rudolph. Even though I'm a hard anti-theist and I am convinced Jesus was a myth, my heart can't help grow 2 sizes during Christmas time. Christmas is mostly secular now anyway. Can't we just let the babies have their bottles for 1 month of the year? Well, see, I think most atheists, even most hard anti-theists, as you would define yourself, are perfectly happy to let the babies have their bottle, as you put it. I love Christmas. Just like you, I love Christmas. I love Santa Claus. I love watching Charlie Brown and Rudolph and all those old stop motion specials from the 60s. And I even love a lot of the sacred hymns. I think, Silent Night and Oh Holy Night are beautiful songs, and I treasure them. And, I love having a Christmas tree and driving around and looking at people's Christmas lights and having dinner with the family on Christmas Day and all these trappings, these cultural traditions of Christmas. I just love. It's one of my favorite times of year. So no, I'm perfectly happy to celebrate Christmas myself, and I'm perfectly happy as an atheist to let devout religious Christians celebrate Christmas themselves however they want. So I don't think most of the war on Christmas stuff comes from atheists or secularists or non-Christians directed at Christians. I think the war on Christmas rhetoric comes from devout religious probably mostly conservative Christians who are resentful of the fact that people other than them are celebrating what they feel is their holiday. I don't think it's about secularists trying to get Christians to stop celebrating Christmas. I think it's about Christians trying to get secularists to stop celebrating Christmas, or if they are going to celebrate Christmas, to only celebrate it in their church-centric, Jesus-centric Christian way. That's what I think. Louis Ang, 114. I have never watched Star Wars before. With all the hype around the new Star Wars movie, I have to ask, can you give me a reason why Star Wars is good other than it is a classic? That is a great question. Well, I'll tell you what I like about it, and I'm talking about the original trilogy. I have no use for the prequels at all. And if you decide to watch a Star Wars movie for the first time, start with Star Wars. Start with the first one. Don't watch Episode 1 or Episode 2 or Episode 3. Watch Star Wars. I just think it's a fun, exciting, well-shot, well-edited space adventure with an appealing, exciting, charismatic cast. And it really doesn't get any more complicated than that. I don't think it's an especially deep film. I don't think it's an especially important film artistically. I just think it's a really good, really fun, awesome movie. You know, and yes, I mean, it's not shallow. There are themes going on. There are themes of identity and coming of age and sort of coming to grips with, you know, your past and how your past has shaped and influenced you, and, you know, learning to trust yourself. I mean, there are lots of themes in the movie, and there are lots of sort of deeper things that it's about, and there are lots of emotions that the characters go through that we can all relate to. But you know, it's not a Tarkovsky film. It's a fun frolic. And it's just a hoot, and that's what I love about it. That's what I love about the first one. That's what I love about the second one, even though the second one is considerably darker than the first one. There's still this sense of adventure. Exciting things are happening, and it's very excitingly presented. Great model work, great, really innovative at the time, camera work and special effects. Just awesome. Just awesome. If you're a film fan, you might enjoy the references to old Hollywood serials, or particularly in the first one to Kurosawa. Almost all of the plot of the original Star Wars is lifted from a really great Kurosawa film called The Hidden Fortress. I mean, you can find analogs of characters in there. You can find basically the same story going on. It's just it's a great movie if you just want to watch something fun. It's a great movie if you're interested in film history and you want to pick out Lucas's references and influences. Just a terrific movie. I wouldn't make more of it than it is. If you're coming at Star Wars fresh and you've never watched a Star Wars movie before and you decide to watch one, watch the first one and just watch it as a space movie, as a space adventure movie, and just see if you enjoy it. Crypt Keeper. Steve, with sequels more often than not living up to the original, what concerns should filmmakers have when making a sequel? Is it that it is doomed from the start, the first film in a series being inherently more attractive because of its novelty? Or are there certain mistakes that you see filmmakers make over and over again regarding sequels? Well, the problem with a sequel is that you want to do the same thing you did in the first movie that made it successful, but you can't do the exact same thing because that movie already exists. So you have to find a way of doing something different while doing something that is familiar. And sometimes that can be really easy. Like sometimes you have a series like Star Trek or like a superhero franchise where you can just tell them, you can just tell a different story with the same characters. You can just set the same cast off on a different adventure and it'll have that familiar feel, but you can also tell a different story with them. And if you do it that way, it's actually, you know, it's pretty good odds as long as you have a good story and as long as the filmmakers and everybody involved are on board and are talented and committed to making a good movie, that you'll come out with a good movie. You know, lots of sequels are great. I still think the great sequels are the exceptions to the rule, but I mean, you've got, you know, Superman 2, Empire Strikes Back, multiple Star Trek movies that improved on the original Star Trek movie. So it does happen. You know, Spider-Man 2 is a great example for me. I think Spider-Man 2 is one of the best superhero movies ever made. So it's possible, but the problem is that usually sequels are not made for creative reasons. They're made for commercial reasons because the first movie was a smash and the studio said, "Give me another one of those." And you have to sort of scramble, you know. The problem is that a film, hopefully, traditionally is a self-contained piece. A movie has a story that starts at the beginning of the movie and it resolves at the end of the movie. So once the story has resolved at the end of the movie, what do you do for another movie? The story is over. So you have that problem. That you have the problem in a sequel of getting the characters back together or getting the lead character back into another adventure when his arc is completed. His story is resolved. So now you have to think of a new character arc for him. You have to think of a new journey for him to go through. You have to think of new problems for him to be faced with. It's a very difficult thing sometimes when you're trying to make another movie, another chapter in a book that you thought you had already finished. Jeremy Westerman, since the only real difference between any given religion and mythology is if anyone alive still actually believes it and currently follows the practices, do you feel atheists, agnostics, and or secularists should continue to differentiate in some sort of mock respect or status quo? Or do you think we should stop using the term religion altogether to illustrate the point and switch to just referring to current religions as current mythology? For instance, the Christian mythology, Hindu mythology, Muslim mythology, Scientology mythology, etc. in daily communication. No, I don't think we should cease using the term religion because religion is the commonly used term, and if we just stop using that term and start really obviously using only mythology to refer to current religions, to make a point, then I think that we come off sounding precious and obnoxious. I just don't think that gets us anywhere. And plus, you can use the terms interchangeably. I have referred to Christian mythology before. I referred to the mythology of the Bible or the mythology of the Quran or whatever. You can describe it as a mythology without erasing the term religion from your vocabulary. I mean, if we're going to communicate with people and we want to understand other people's ideas and we want other people to understand our ideas, we can't put up barriers in communication. And I think just deciding to be really ostentatious about the fact that we're not going to call them religions, we're going to call them mythologies to hammer home the point that we don't draw any distinction between them, it just to me would just be off-putting and would just be obnoxious and wouldn't really get us anywhere. So I would not recommend doing that. But acknowledging that there is really no practical difference between a mythology and a religion, I think is a perfectly valid argument and a perfectly valid thing to do. And I think in certain conversations, when it's appropriate, referring to Christianity as a mythology, or Hinduism as a mythology, or Judaism as a mythology, or Islam as a mythology, I think is perfectly appropriate. I don't have any problem with that at all. I do it myself. But I would not eliminate religion, the word, from my vocabulary. That wouldn't accomplish anything. My sexy kneecaps cock tip experiment. Greetings, Steve, you handsome bearded devil you. I used to love Steve Harvey because of Family Feud a lot and respected how hard he worked to get where he is today. I saw interviews where he calls atheists stupid idiots and that women should not date atheists because they have no moral barometer, and that he would not even talk to one because he does not like talking to them. I gotta say it broke my heart because I'm an atheist. Have you ever had a hero or celebrity you looked up to let you down? How have you handled this? And how should I handle this? P.S. You are now my favorite Steve. Screw Steve Harvey. Oh, thank you. Sorry, Steve. There's a new Steve in town. At least as far as my sexy kneecaps cock tip experiment is concerned. So, right there, buddy. Yeah, of course. I don't think it's a good idea to idolize famous people too much, or to put too much respect or invest too much admiration in someone as a whole person. I mean, most famous people that I know and that I like for some reason or another, I like because they're an artist of some kind. They're an actor or an actress or a musician or a writer or whatever. So if I find out that they have some failing in their personal life, or they've said something that I don't agree with, or that is offensive to me, I mean, that can be dismaying. That can be like, disappointing. You hear them say something like that, and you think, oh, God, man, really? You know? But I try to compartmentalize. Like if you're a fan of Steve Harvey and you think he's his stand up is funny, or he's great as the host of Family Feud, then but he said those things about atheists and that offends you. I mean, maybe try to separate the two. You can still watch Family Feud and enjoy it, and enjoy his banter with the contestants and how well he hosts the show, and find it entertaining, and just sort of have his judgmental opinion about atheists off to the side somewhere. There are things that a person I admire could do that could make me say, oh, you know what, fuck them. But then at that point I would just sort of mentally cut them off and move on to someone else. Life's too short to cry too many tears over famous people letting you down, because if you admire enough famous people and you live long enough, it is bound to happen eventually. Also bound to happen eventually.
The lightning round. Rapid fire questions. Glib and adequate answers.
Simon the Program. Steve, what do you think about My Little Pony? It has no religion, it has no church, and Christmas Eve is celebrated by the 3 different pony races coming together. They don't have a god, but a ruler, like instead of saying, oh my god, they say, oh my Celestia, or something like that. And if you haven't seen it, give it a try. P.S. The Amazing Atheist could not get through 1 episode. I hope you can. Join the herd. And remember, nothing is too serious or too silly. I have never watched it. I've never really felt any desire to watch it, but not because I have anything against the show. If you like it, I think that's great. More power to you. And, who knows, maybe I'll catch an episode of it one time and I'll think it's good. I mean, Christ, I like He-Man. You can't get much dumber than that. So I doubt My Little Pony will be too dumb for me to finish an episode. Radical Bacon. I'm kind of your fangirl, in the sense that I get kind of a thrill whenever we interact. So I'm wondering, who are you a fanboy of? Oh, Seth Andrews of The Thinking Atheist. We don't interact all that much. We don't really know each other that well, but the few times we have interacted, I've kind of peed my pants. I run around the carpet in a circle. It's pretty cool. I get a little tingle whenever I interact with Seth Andrews, so there you go. Yoav Freed. Hey, Steve, what did you get me for Hanukkah? You know what? I got you a new mezuzah, and I went up to your house to deliver it to you in person, but I saw that you already had one on your door, and I looked, and it was the exact same mezuzah. So I just pried the one that you already had off, and I nailed the one that I got you on. So the one that you have there now, it might look like the one you've always had, but it's actually the one that I got you for Hanukkah. So happy Hanukkah. And I hope you actually have a mezuzah at your house so that makes sense. Patrick Dodds. Steve, what do you think of the Alien movies? Specifically, for some weird reason, I'm curious what you think of Alien 3. Your opinion on film means a lot to me, so tell me! Please. Wife sneezes. Did you hear that? I don't know. Alien 3 is not a great movie, but it's hard to watch it now with objective eyes, because David Fincher, who directed Alien 3, went on to become one of my favorite filmmakers. So it's hard not to look at it now without picking out the things that I like about it, because I really like him as a director. But yeah, I mean, it's not great. It's certainly not Alien, and it's certainly not Aliens. It's Alien 3. It's okay. Jason, hey Scary Steve. You are a truly gifted video maker, and your talent shines like a beacon upon the faces of your fans. But if YouTube didn't exist, what would you be doing to fill the empty places? Screenwriter? Spooky diner patron? Professional curmudgeon? Heroine? No, of course not. I don't know. Isn't professional curmudgeon sort of what I do now? You know what I've always wanted to do? I've always wanted to do a puppet show. Rob Santana. Hey Steve, what's your position on the death penalty? Would you rather crowd prisons with people who obviously shouldn't be in society, or do you think there are some people out there in the world who need killing? Well, it's not a question of whether or not there are some people who need killing. It's a question of whether or not the government should have the authority to do the killing. I'm anti-death penalty across the board. I don't think it should be allowed. I don't think it speaks well to us as a society that we have the death penalty. I'm just all against it. And even though we do have the death penalty, and even though certain states, Texas, are quite energetic in applying the death penalty, I don't think we kill enough people a year to really ease prison overcrowding. I think those problems lie in a different area. So whether we have the death penalty or not, we're still going to have to deal with prison overcrowding. But yeah, I'm against the death penalty completely. This is 3D. Dear Steve, would you consider doing a 5 Stupid Things About clickbait? You know, those headlines that are too shocking to seem real or cut off in a strange place, making you click on it just to fulfill a curiosity about the headline? Thanks. You know, I would have before this week, but then one of my videos from the Breakfast Club was shared in a very clickbaity way on Upworthy, and I feel like I kind of owe clickbait one. So if I do it, I might not do it for a while. I'll just let clickbait have a little bit longer before I do a 5 Stupid Things About it. Because I'm an opportunistic hypocrite. Ryan Meeker, hey Steve, on a scale of 1 to the clay molding scene in Ghost, how romantic is your relationship with Hugo from the Bible Reloaded? What would you name your bastard love child if Hugo could somehow make Spawn? Which one is Hugo again? No, I'm just kidding. Me and Hugo we're the full Ghost, which sucks for Hugo's girlfriend. Bernardo C. Steve, are you more of a loner or a people's person? How do you feel about it, whichever type you are? You know, I wouldn't say I'm a loner. I mean, I'm not a recluse, but I don't do well in large groups of people. And when I say I don't do well, like, I just don't like it. I mean, I don't freak out. I'm fine. I'm functional. I can talk to people. I can hang out. I can be perfectly normal, but I just don't enjoy it. I just think it's horrible. So I try to avoid that. I'm better in small groups of friends. You know, 3 or 4 or 5 people that, you know, you're over at somebody's house, you're hanging out watching a movie, you're shooting the shit on the porch or whatever. That's really cool for me. But anything more than that, like a really large group of people, just doesn't do it for me. I just don't like that. And when I'm out in public, I really hate it when people come up and talk to me. Like when I'm at the grocery store, I'll put it another way. When people I know come and talk to me, strangers coming up and saying hi, that doesn't really bother me. I try to be polite to people, but when someone I know sees me like at the grocery store and comes up and starts talking to me, that is like my idea of hell. If I go to hell and it's like the ironic punishment form of hell, that's all hell is for me. It's just me in a public place and people I know coming up and starting conversations with me. Terry Williams, haven't asked in a while. I watch the And Now the Good News every week because I have a biology degree, and I have always loved science. Sometimes I wonder what big scientific breakthroughs, especially in health, that we might miss after we're dead. What health breakthrough would you want to see conquered by science before we die? Cure for HIV? Readily available vaccine for cancer? Something else? Well, cures for HIV and cancer are pretty good. I would add something to do with dementia to the list, some sort of treatment or cure or prevention for, you know, Alzheimer's disease or Huntington's disease or these sort of degenerative brain diseases that can really just take people from us a piece at a time. It's so wrenching when those sorts of things happen. So something like that would be big for me too, some sort of treatment for those diseases. And on that sad, wistful note, that's the end of the lightning round. That's it for the questions this week. Before I get out of here, of course, here comes a shout out. The shout out this week is one that, and I say this occasionally to ones that I really am happy to have found. This is a shout out that's been on my list for a while, and I don't know why I haven't done it yet because it's an awesome channel, and it goes well beyond the guy's YouTube channel. The shout out this week goes to Taylor X04. This is such an awesome channel. Taylor is such an awesome resource for atheists, especially if you're interested in religion and apologetics and counter-apologetics and all that sort of thing. He has a series that he's been doing for years on his channel called Do You Know Your Bible that he still occasionally adds to. He does videos that I really love, doing sort of reviews, capsules about contemporary Christian music. He did a video a few months ago, I think maybe like a year ago now, it's been a while, on Carmen. And Carmen is one of my favorite little kitschy pieces of contemporary Christian culture. Just this horrible Christian music artist. Great stuff. And he also has a website. Taylor X04 has a website called godlesshaven.com. Had to write it down to make sure I didn't forget it. Godlesshaven.com, which has all kinds of awesome information, including, and this may be of interest to many of my viewers, he does chapter by chapter reviews and responses to Christian apologetics books. Sound familiar? And it's awesome. It's really great work. So if you enjoy An Atheist Read series, definitely check out Taylor's similar stuff in written form. In fact, the most recent book he did was God's Not Great by Rice Brooks, which, it just so happens, and this is completely by coincidence, is going to be the next book that I do in the An Atheist Read series that starts in January. So check out his website, godlesshaven.com. Check out his YouTube channel. It is awesome. It's just highly, highly recommended. Taylor X04. Check it out. Now, before I leave you, I do have one final little sort of announcement, shout out. Because the holidays are coming up, I figured it would be best to get the next Patreon patron hangout out of the way before Christmas and before New Year's. So my 4th monthly Patreon patron hangout is taking place live this Sunday, December 21st, Winter Solstice Day, first day of winter, starting at noon Eastern time as usual. So if you are a Patreon patron of mine, you can watch my Patreon activity feed for a link about 15 minutes before showtime. You can join me live in the Hangout, and we can hang out for an hour and have a great time. That's to Patreon patrons of mine only. Now, if you are not a patron and you don't want to be a patron, and you say, fuck your Patreon campaign, that's totally cool. You can still watch the video. Everybody can watch. It streams live on my YouTube channel. You can watch if you want, but if you want to join me, you can become a Patreon patron, or if you are a Patreon patron, you go to my Patreon page, and you can click on the join link, which I will post about 15 minutes before showtime. So, there you go. Patreon Hangout this Sunday, December 21st, noon Eastern. Okay, now I'm done. I will be back next week to do this again, as always, but of course, in order for me to do this, you have to ask. So please leave a comment on this video asking me your question for next time. You can ask me anything about anything. Nothing is too serious. Nothing is too silly. I will answer as many questions as I can in the next video. So until then, take care, everybody.